Wow.
show
Wow, that's a long time ago.
American Adversaries.
I know American
Lobbying.
Adversary. That's Salem.
Mm-hmm.
I did Carl Jackson. He was in this building. I
Used to
don't know if
be.
he's still here or not.
No.
American Adversaries. I looked at them to bring the show there, and they wouldn't approve one of my sponsors'
Which one? The hemp one?
premiere.
Ha! You know, I was the voice of Premiere for years. Me and Amy.
Oh yeah.
Me and Amy Bean are all good, or whatever the hell it is this week. I never know. Anyway, we are live again on the Facebook and the social medias, including YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and all the fun channels. And it is just about time to start hour number 2, so stand by. Hey, everybody ready and in their places? Bright, shiny faces? Okay, here we go. Counting down, 3, 2, and 1.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
And welcome back as we launch into our second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all of our introductions for those of you who had just joined us. I am Angela Smaritto, and I am your host. And we have got our... That's a sad clap. What is that?
My interns need food. Come on, you guys, do better.
Extras. I was like, wait a second.
There we go.
We have our producer, Melissa Fox, who's
Hi.
being funny over there.
It's what I do.
And our co-pilot and videographer, Melissa Jacob.
Hello for part 2.
At part 2. And Melissa's business is Striking Brand. She does all of our videos. So if you go to baadradio.com, under episodes, you can watch all the previous episodes. So Melissa is a photographer and a videographer. So you can check out all of her work at strikingbrand.com.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then this hour, Brad, we have a new business owner to BaaD Radio, and this is another gentleman that I just met. So both of our guests today are people that I literally have met last week and this week. So
Okay.
please welcome Don Menzel.
How you doing?
Now, Don has a very impressive resume of everything that he's doing right now, but I put him on the banner as the owner of a successful roofing company
Okay.
called Menzel Roofing Services.
Thank you for
Right.
having me here.
There, you got to speak up. You got to get closer.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Which I've heard of that before. Are you in BNI or?
No, so I've just learned through the years how to market. I had
Okay.
to teach myself because I couldn't afford to pay anybody to do it.
Oh, okay. Probably from Facebook posts. People
Probably.
like putting your name out there.
I'm sure you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that is good.
I'm sure people have probably chased you about being in BNI, though, right?
No, in the past they
Yeah.
have, but no, just being a part of the chamber and everything,
Which chamber are you part of?
the regional, Seminole County Regional Chamber.
Okay, nice.
That's the one that you're in.
No, I'm in the Oviedo Winter Springs
Okay.
chamber. Yeah.
I've considered moving over to that one because that's more localized for
Okay.
where I'm located.
Yeah. That's a really good group of people, too. The president, Roxanne Ferguson,
Oh yeah,
is amazing.
I love them. Can't you be members of both?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. So, because like I know with BNI, well, I meant with like BNI, they really want you to kind of stick. They don't really want you to be in any
Right.
networking groups per se, but I don't think they really care about chambers and stuff.
No, not at all. Not at all.
'Cause-
No, I think really it's where do you want to spend your time?
Yes, that's the
because you're
biggest thing.
investing in this
Oh yeah, time's
product,
money.
service. So for me, I'm only one person as the owner and trying to allocate my time, to the best that I think, for my company. Being split between two different chambers,
Right.
Yeah.
is not that great of
I
allocating
know.
funds.
Even with BNI and the chamber, I'm like,
Yeah, I
It's a
don't. I mean, I
lot.
wouldn't be able to go to all of
it's a
them.
lot. You just got to pick and choose because it's really good networking either way for both groups, really, too.
The one thing I found out about chambers, though, is that I see a lot of repetitiveness, and I do like them because, like I said, it's a bigger group, it's a more mass, but you really have to. How do they say it? With BNI, people are held accountable for
Right.
passing you a referral,
Right.
and they're
Accountability.
given a grade on it, basically.
Right.
And that for me really works. Is that
Right.
accountability and that because I'm not going to say it wasn't Oviedo or Seminole, but I remember being a guest at a chamber, and I had the same people coming up to me, and it was just passing business cards. And then,
Kind of like
and
an echo chamber.
yeah. And then, they wanted to have coffee and sell me.
Right.
And I just, you know what I mean? I was like, that's not going to work.
I think
for
it's
me.
like BNI though. Like you just got to kind of you have people in every group where you're going to have some people who are kind of just there to just be there. And then some people who are there, like the Master Roberts, Dominica, they're in the chamber. That's how I met them.
Yeah.
And they're just like
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
She's like a firecracker.
100%.
So, speaking of like groups and stuff, how Don and I met is I recently done a thing where I went through Facebook and I was just looking for different business groups, and and I applied to be in those different business groups so that I can post about my business, to post about my sponsor's business, and there was a group that actually I think I'm in. How many? So I was in one of his groups. I don't remember which one it was though. So how many groups do you currently have?
I am admin by myself on 3 different groups, and then admin with a couple other admins in one group.
And you told me the story when we did our one-to-one about how you put those together and how long you've had them. Can you kind of give us that same rundown?
So originally when I moved here to Florida roughly 12 years ago, we brought, my wife and I own a tax and accounting firm. And so we moved here, started the accounting firm, moved here, brought one client with us. And I had went to work for a major roofing company at that point as a superintendent. So I was wearing a hat as superintendent for this company I was working for, and then helping my wife build our accounting firm. So this was roughly 10 years ago. I started to teach myself how to market, and social media was just starting to be a new boom thing. And one of the things that stood out to me back then was groups. Groups started to become formed and everything. And so I formed a Longwood group, a Lake Mary group, supporting businesses in Seminole County group, and then was asked to be admin on a Castleberry group. And so for me, in networking and becoming a part of the chamber, I thought, okay, I'll create these groups and just kind of play with it and see how they go. Well, now we're roughly, 8-10 years down the road.
I think you said 2014 was the one that I was in that
Right.
I reached out to you from that.
I think with all 4 different groups I have, and mind you, there's obviously going to be some people that are in each group and whatnot, but, an outreach of roughly probably upward of 20,000 people. In the Seminole County area.
So the one that I'm in has like 4.9 businesses in it. And I see when I post in there, I see some of the other people that are, where they cross. So,
Right.
but what I try not to do is do one post and then just share it into each other group. I try to do an individual post per group. And lots of times I'm not even posting for myself. He's like, that's too much work, girl.
Wow, that's a lot of time. I mean, especially if you're really trying to target, a broad area like, Central Florida.
Yeah.
There are so many groups that you could go in and advertise in, just to post a meme or whatever you want to post, and to specialize that per group. That would take a long time.
Well, with the groups I'm in, I do that because I know for myself, when I see one person do that where I'm in, it's like, okay, I've seen it once, but what if this is a second opportunity or a third opportunity to get their attention, where it might be the same graphic, but the message is a little bit different, or something like
That
that.
makes sense.
So I might hit on something different that triggers something. So,
Right.
And then, like I said, I kind of look at it as like serving my respect to each one of those groups, because what this show is all about is a group that I put together. Now, I didn't catch on to that as quickly as you did so many years ago. It took me till COVID time.
That's fine.
But that's how Business at a Distance even got developed. Is I was driving home when we all got sent home for COVID, and I'm like, how are we still going to pass referrals? And so I created Business at a Distance. It organically became BaaD because that's what the members inside started calling it, and I thought it was cute. And we had an anniversary party, and people were calling it the BaaDiversary, and I was just like,
that is cute.
yeah, actually, Dr. Jessica Mitchell was the one who
cute. Yeah.
started calling
I like
it that. So, that happened, and so creating this radio show was like the brainchild of how that group. So, and that way I can bring the businesses, and so at first I was pulling businesses strictly from Business at a Distance, but now, like I said, it branched out. So it's businesses that are local. I mean, like I said, it's local businesses and business networking. So, but it sounds like you're like are very pivotal in the whole networking world with being the admins on these groups.
Yeah, I mean, the whole purpose of the supporting businesses of Seminole County was just that, back when we first moved here and I started to get involved in chambers and nonprofits and everything, we come from the mantra of, if you're blessed, you give back to the community. You give back in some way, shape, or form. And so in building these groups and my participation in the community was really an opportunity for like-minded business people that wanted to have a centralized kind of outreach, into other businesses that do business to business or chambers and stuff like that. I just thought it was another way that people could do that as business owners.
Yeah, well, that music means that we're going to a break. But when we get back, what I want to do is talk about your resume. And I'm not talking about your CV. I'm talking about, like, everything that you have posted when you look up Dawn on Facebook.
You're listening to BaaD Radio.
So, like I said, this is when we would be going to break. So hang on.
La, da, da. We're just waiting on the computer at this point. Okay, stand by.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay, hang on 1 second. We cannot have that.
Okay.
3, 2, and 1.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach Realty, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. With a sea of realtors out there, choose the one that thinks about you first and not their commission. You can reach Rachel at 407-252-4566. All right, so we are talking with Dawn, and Dawn is the owner of Menzel Roofing Services. It's Menzel.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. What is that? What's the nationality of that?
That's German.
Is it German? I was wondering. My maiden name's Kuda, and that's Czechoslovakian. So.
Okay. I was wondering.
You're Cullen.
Cullen, yeah.
That's English.
Yeah, it's like English, Scott, or something, somewhere over there.
I can't help anything but think of Twilight.
Yeah.
So. Sorry, girl.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, you know what? That was my guilty pleasure when the books were out. So Other ladies were reading like 50 Shades, and I was reading Harry Potter and the Hunger Games, and
same though. Same.
So, all right. So we talked about your resume, and I said earlier, is that I was impressed by your resume. So tell us some of the things that you're involved with right now. So we already mentioned that you own a roofing company.
So as of right now, there's really no extracurricular activity that I've had like in the past. I mean, I'm part of nonprofits and politics. Right now, it's focusing on company growth, and I'm a board member for the Central Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Association.
Right. So this is something that is very interesting to me. And as we started to do like our one-to-one, he lit up, like, you know what I mean? Like he literally got so animated because we started talking about the things that are happening up in Tallahassee right now that and Melissa knows about it, and the other Melissa knows about it because we've done a whole show about it. So he's in the roofing, he's in the traits.
Right.
And so Senate Bill 2A is something that is hitting his industry. And when he found out that this is something that I'm like working on, he was like, why didn't you tell me about this? Or why didn't he was like, why don't you have anything on social media saying you're an advocate for this? So I
couldn't find nothing. I was
know.
surprised.
I posted about it yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, the main part was because I didn't have all the information yet. And I want to make sure that I'm fully informed on what's happening before I start posting. You know what I mean?
Right.
So many people post about some stuff that they don't know jack
Right.
about. So, the what is it? The sheet metal or the association?
The Central Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal
Okay,
Association.
tell us about that. I know it doesn't sound really interesting to us, but actually, I'm very interested.
Well, I can say that, being in the industry since I was 18, for me,
In roofing.
in the roofing industry. Now, within that, I had put myself put myself into college, and going through the trade, you always assumed or you always thought that, other roofers with other companies or other companies, were like your competitor, and it was like some big fight, and that's just not the case. So in the industry and being a part of the Roofing and Sheet Metal Association, I've got to know other owners, other general managers, and we support each other. Here in Florida, and having to be a licensed contractor, it's very important that I'm, competing against people that are apples to apples.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have, storm chasers come down that, have somebody basically co-sign for their permits and everything, they buy a license.
You can buy a license for like $65.
Well, no, you have to have somebody qualify your company.
Because we had a tree company come out.
Completely different.
Is it different?
Yeah. So the roofing license, at least when I got mine, not including tools, nothing like that, was just around a $20,000 investment.
Oh, yeah, that's a little bit
That's a
different.
chunk of change.
It is, and so that's partly the reason why I've been down here around 12 years, that I didn't get it until about 5 years ago. Now, we had a successful accounting firm, in operation. We knew we weren't going to grow that, so that's when I decided, well, my trade, my background is, roofing. I might as well go ahead and put my eggs in that basket. Roofers always have a bad reputation. It's always the roofer's fault.
See, I don't. Because her and I are in BNI, I don't feel that way. Do
Yeah,
you?
because we have a roofer in our BNI, and they're like some of the most stand-up people. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah,
like
I appreciate
said,
you saying that,
Yeah,
because
but
the
I
echo
get it.
chambers
Yeah.
that I hear is, oh, you gotta, it's
That's
always
'cause
the
of
roofer.
Those storm chaser type people,
Correct.
though.
Especially here in Florida after
yeah.
the
Right.
hurricanes in 0405.
I call them blue tarp chasers. Is what
Okay.
I call them.
So those are the true competitors that I don't want to, I don't want to go up against, because they're not operating 9 times out of 10, like the rest of us in the Central Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Association. So I don't mind competitors, and I'll even recommend people to look, if you're looking for more than one estimate, go to the Central Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Association, pick out one of those guys, have them come out and give you an estimate, because at least then I know that they're bound by, in being a part of the organization, we check and make sure that, you have your general liability, your workman's comp, that you're operating, on the up
So,
and
like
up.
you said, apples to apples.
Correct.
So that's a good place to check. Like if you're trying to find a good roofer that's not going to, a nice way to say this.
Rip you off.
Yes, rip you off.
Well, my big thing is that they the worst part is if AOBs are a thing of the past now, but in the past, like they'd be there, they'd get somebody to sign, an unexpected homeowner to sign an AOB, which gives them the rights to everything. They pay, they get the money from the insurance company, and then they haul out.
Right.
You know what I
But
mean?
if they're
You have a
But-
couple of bad actors, in any industry that's the case. And so
But that association essentially is like a thorough background check, so you don't even have to.
we hold each other self-accountable,
Right.
In Central Florida at least. So we do a vetting process in order to become a member, to make sure that you have the basic things that DBPR, expects licensed roofing contractors to have here.
So the storm chaser type people aren't going to be on that list. Or
Not
could they
on the
find a way?
Central Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Association. Not
So-
not our organization.
Not our
Right.
organization.
So
Correct.
you say you stress Central Florida. Are there
Correct.
different associations for different regions?
Well, I don't know about for different regions. I don't pay attention to different regions, but I know that there is a state organization that, there's a state roofing and sheet metal association. I'm not a part of that, and I know that there are a few of our members that are a part of that push getting people involved in that. Now, at the state level, they're the ones that will lobby on, our behalf, because we're an affiliate to them. And so I can tell you that me personally, I've not seen eye to eye in some of the organization, the state organization, and what they,
Are
bought
lobbying for
into.
against-
Right,
See,
correct.
this is what I've
or
heard.
Will agree to, and so that's why for at least Central Florida, residents, I would say, hey, come to our association. If you're not calling Menzel Roofing Services, at least go there.
Right. No, that makes total sense. And how many members and how does somebody become a member?
Becoming a member would be to reach out to one of the board members or go to the website, and either me or one of the other board members would reach out to that company. We'll invite them to a public meeting, at no cost to them, come check it out to see if they see value in it. And then if they so choose that they're like, yeah, I want to get involved, I can believe in this, then they would get an application and go through the process.
Okay. What would somebody see as value? Leads?
No, this is industry-wise as far as if you're a member of the Central Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Association, it would be leads in the sense that, you're looking to network. So I'm a single business owner, and I get access to other roofing company owners and general managers in the sense that there's everybody has different business models and different things that they do. You have manufacturers that will come in. You'll have attorneys, like I was explaining to you before, 2 years ago, we had a OSHA attorney come in, and that was like one of the best informative meetings me as an owner and my general manager got to participate in.
I want to continue this conversation because I think this is a very, very valuable information. So we're going to hop back in on this after the break, so stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. Go to BaaDradio.com for more information.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. And that's me, and that's why I was telling you, there's me and a couple other board members. There's one board member that is like, will co-sign what the state organization. And it all comes down to money, for things. And so for me, it's like money comes and goes. I feel that if...
Don't they understand that in the long run that's going to hurt people's money?
I think that they look at their own selfish, their own business model and what their goals are. And, obviously I can get into a lot more. Every business owner, everybody is different. Even, businesses that have, boards and corporations and all that, they have a different 5-year goal, 10-year goal, as any other company does. And so the you scratch my back, I scratch your back mentality, I'm sure, is well in play as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah.
You're not going to push against an insurance company if you're their selected vendor. You see what I'm saying? And if they tell you to jump, depending on the kind of money you're getting, you're going to jump.
Yep. All right, girl, I'm ready.
At least some companies.
Okay.
Or some of them.
Segment 3. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most valuable investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. Do you know would you work with a lot of house inspectors too? Or I get a little confused on like the networking circle for roofing companies.
So home inspectors are under a different license.
Gotcha.
And so I get asked a lot, hey, we just got a new roof on, do you guys do a
Wind mitigation.
Wind mitigation.
I want to introduce you to Mike Heyman with Liberty Property Instructions because you guys could be referral partners. He's a great guy.
And that's kind of typically how it works in the industry because I don't hold that license. I'll tell my customers, hey, look, we don't hold that license. We can find you somebody or, it's in your best interest to do your research and see.
But do you have like a consistent like inspector that you might like link up with?
No.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
typically
Mike.
inspectors, from my experience, I've had some reach out to me, and I, and I've tried to do, kind of a referral partnership deal. But 9 times out of 10, what I've discovered, at least for me, is that, hey, come take a look at this roof. They're not sure if they're going to sell before or if they're going to make it a part of. And then we go in and put in all the legwork, and then I don't hear nothing.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
Yeah, I know that that's not Mike, but because like Liberty Property Inspections, we use them for our mitigation, and then he also did something because we got a new roof. It's going on 8 years now, and we started having some leaking for our roof, and again, the roofing company had changed hands a few times, and they said if it's leaking here, it's not our problem. We didn't do it. They called it sheaf, or I don't even know. Around what's that? That's around your chimney,
you're flashing?
flashing and or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so Mike came over and he climbed up in the attic, and it just happened to be raining that day. And he actually took a video of where the water was coming through, and he wrote a strongly worded letter in the video, and he sent it to my roofing company, and they were out literally the next day and had it all fixed. And I mean, that's service, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he also did our wind mitigation, which helped us save money on our homeowners insurance. So, all right. So we were talking about. I wanted to get back to the being a member of this association. So you said that they would have to fill out an application, and I can't remember. Did I ask you how many members are there?
Right now, I think we're around 30 members.
Okay. And I mean, is that something that you're looking to grow, or do you just sort of like? I mean, when you have monthly meetings, you said.
Not every month, so typically during the summer when summer break happens, we'll take I think it's July off. But we'll typically try to set up, like a picnic around summertime. So there's specific months that we'll stay away from to not hold a meeting. But for the most part, yeah, we typically have a meeting a month, a public meeting a month.
And that's very beneficial, and that's when you can invite other roofers or so sheet metal. What all does that cover?
Metal roofing.
Okay, so it's still roofing.
Correct.
Okay. So yeah.
Can I ask you some stuff about like you said your background was in roofing since you were 18?
Correct.
Did you work with like a family member who was a roofer, or like how did you even get into that? Because roofing seems like one of those jobs that not that many people are like, I can't wait to get on top of this roof.
Yeah, so when I grow up, I want to be a roofer.
Yeah, I don't think many like elementary school kids have the drawing of a roof and them like with a hammer. I don't think that's.
So a little bit of a backstory, I was a teenager that, didn't listen to the parents.
What? Teenagers
right.
always
So
listen.
It wasn't like, so for me at 18, being independent because basically, I was not living at home. I was already out trying to make money and live my life and be an adult. And so with
because you knew everything.
Right, of course. Who at 18 doesn't know everything?
My daughter knows everything.
Yeah, but she really does though.
I don't know. Maybe it's the times because I have an 11-year-old that believes that. But with that being said, so I wanted to make good money, and I lived in the Kansas City area, north of
I'm sorry,
Kansas.
did you say Kansas City?
Kansas
Okay.
City area. And I lived north of that and, had a beat up vehicle. So I really didn't have many options. It's not like I could drive into Kansas City and try to find, some type of great job. I had limited opportunities. And at the time, starting out as a laborer in the main roofing company there where I grew up, was decent money. And so I was like, well, I need a job. Why not? I knew a guy that had worked there, and he said, hey, if you come in, we can get you started tomorrow. And so I started in commercial roofing, doing hot tar, tearing off, commercial buildings, thousands and thousands of squares, and 4-ply pitch and tar and gravel back on.
How's that compared to like doing a residential? Like, is it
Sounds grueling.
suckier? Like, is it
Well-
another way to say that? You know what I mean?
The labor-intensive
I didn't
part of
cuss.
removing a roof, I would say, is equally difficult.
Okay.
As you get older, you want to be more on flat surfaces versus pitch surface.
Yeah.
I don't like
So
being on roofs.
at that age, it didn't matter.
Okay.
It was still pretty intensive work.
Just when you say tar, I'm just like automatically like, oh, this is sounding
No,
worse.
I know. I know that when I bought a townhouse in Winter Park, it was a 2-story townhouse, and the person who was inspecting the house had made me get up on the roof with him to like
Okay.
go over stuff, and I was petrified, especially because it's 2 stories high.
I don't think they're supposed to make you get on the roof.
Absolutely not.
That sounds like that's an insurance issue. Like so
absolutely
many
not.
problems.
What year? This was 1996 or something.
Can you take
so-
96. I was going to say,
Yeah.
can you take a picture? No.
I literally was like laying flat and just like, I'm like, I can't do this. And he goes, but I need you to see this. And I was
Oh
like,
my
I
God.
I
don't
don't
need
think
draw
the
me a
quality of Polaroid cameras
Yeah.
back then was even that great. So.
Oh, he wouldn't have worked. Draw me a picture. I'm not getting up there.
And he was just all walking up there, up and down, like towards the edge. And I was like, if you fall, this is high enough now that you're going to die.
have you
absolutely.
ever fallen off?
One time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I
What
fell
happened?
off. It was 2 stories onto a driveway. What happened was I was
He looks like he's embarrassed.
well, I was managing the crew at the time. I was the foreman, and it was a residential property. I had a newer guy that was, trying to hide from work. He was
Oh, fun.
cleaning a gutter, and
Yeah.
we just had this back end of this house tore off. And I basically went storming down to, give him a piece of my mind
Uh-oh.
on how it sucks that he's
Yeah.
playing around in the gutter when everybody else is
Kick-
tearing off the front of the building, right? And so as I was storming down to the edge of the roof, I hit a piece of loose felt. And the next thing I know, I'm looking up, and I'm like, what am I doing down here?
Did you break
it?
anything?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I was still young enough that I
You had
I
bendy
hit,
bones.
and I
Yeah.
was in shock, but I didn't break
I
anything.
bet it knocked the wind out of you, though.
Yeah, I mean, when I hit, I came to, and I don't know how brief it was. All I know is I was looking up, and the guy that I was about to chew his rear end was looking down at me in
Oh.
complete shock.
Yeah.
Did you yell at him from like?
Oh, absolutely. My ego wouldn't let that die,
Right.
so.
Have you ever had the wind knocked out of you?
Yes,
Like I
it's
fell out of
terrible.
a tree and I hit the ground, and it just leaves you,
Yeah.
and you can't suck it
You
back
can't
in.
breathe. I remember that happened to me in elementary school. I was terrified. I went to the teachers freaking out. So I didn't fall from a 2-story building, but I was doing some dumb flips or something.
I fell out of a tree. So with all of the different roofing companies out there, really, what do you do to kind of set yourself apart?
So I'll lead back into what I was describing before. My perception of roofing companies and roofers. I wanted to make sure that when I started my company, that it was going to be based on integrity. It was going to be based on being trustworthy. Hence why I named it, with my last name.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted people to get the sense that they weren't dealing with some corporate entity or some fly-by-night company.
Oh, you got me again, girl. You
Got me that time too.
Wow, my head.
Wow. Let's take a break. Fix your head.
All right, we'll be right back.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. I'm contributing. We'll be right back. So sorry. I thought I had it potted down enough, and it just went bam. I jumped. You jumped. We all jumped.
I'm fighting a tension headache, and I told him I was like, try to keep the startle stuff because
Right.
it sends this pain through my head. How many more segments do we have?
Last one.
Do we have time to talk a little bit about John? Do you have time? Can you hear
I'm
me?
listening.
Okay. Do we have time to talk a little bit about what you did with politics? And I kind of want to build this story of we've talked about how you got started in roofing and now that you're in roofing, but there's time in between there where, like I said, you got into different charities, you got into different, like you said, politics and everything like that. But all of that kind of leads you to where you're today. So
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it does.
do you mind if we talk about that a little?
No problem at all. I have nothing to hide.
Okay, final segment. starting hopefully in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And thank you for staying with us. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by a group of our sponsors. So a huge thank you to our sponsor, Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. And I've been seeing the stuff that Brooke Bolts has been putting out, and it's just phenomenal. That girl is a fighter, and I look up to her like you would not believe. Well, when a lot of these attorneys are like rolling over and saying, oh, there's nothing that we can do, she's like, watch me.
Yeah, from personal experience, she's helped me with like a car accident and a roofing issue. So both times she's all over it.
Well, when we were talking about Senate Bill 2A, there's also House Bill 837, and she's standing up to both of them.
And she has to.
And
It's her business.
Yeah, I know, but so many of them aren't.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked on how many, mostly attorneys, I've talked to, and they're just like, oh, it's already done. It's in the bank. There's nothing we can do. I talked to him, and he had me excited because he was like, yeah, we want to do something. Yeah, we want to stand up. So I'm like, I'm going to hang with the blue collars,
the people who want to do something.
I'm going to be like, I'm going to hang out with the women attorneys and the people that work in the trades, because they have backbones. And I am saying that out loud because a lot of these people don't have backbones.
I can tell you that in the industry, I was talking to a guy about it the other day, like right after you and I had talked. I called him up and I was telling him about you and how we were talking about the new proposals that are out there. And he told me that he set up his business, that he does DBA, in order to protect himself from the insurance companies and the attorneys, so that way he doesn't become personally on their radar, and just the company, the entity that he uses, that he puts forth out to the community, that's all they can find.
Right.
And he does that on purpose because he has seen roofing contractors that have spoke out in the past about certain issues, and people go after them.
Like they get blackballed or something?
Not that they get blackballed, but they get turned into OSHA, or they get turned into the DBPR, just some low, hanging fruit kind of activity that you would do to a company in order to make it difficult for them.
Right.
And cost them money.
I got derailed a little bit, but I still need to mention a few more sponsors. I just realized. So special thanks to 33 Tanning Spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. And we talked about them a lot today. And Andrews Law, PA, auto accident attorney. Contact Andrews Law today, and you can reach her at, to go to andrewslawpa.com. And then Crazy Muscle Nutrition in Longwood. Okay, sorry about that. Now we're back. Like I said,
You got to make sure you're paying the bills.
Yeah, definitely. I got distracted because it's something that I feel very passionate about.
And they're all great sponsors too, so we got to
I love our sponsors.
Yeah.
But this is what the point that I was kind of making. I don't know if I said this to you, but I was like, I talked to a lot of these attorneys that are like, use me, an auto accident, use me for your claims because we're going to fight for you. And they won't even fight for themselves. I was like, how can you sit there and say, we're going to fight for you, we're going to get all of your rights and everything like that. But yet when you're faced with adversary and you're faced with government and big corporations with all this money, you're just going to be like, oh, well, sorry. I'm just going to change my field of law.
Like, how strongly could they fight for you if they're not even fighting for their own business, with the same amount?
A lot of me thinks because they're cheap and they think that they know everything and that they honestly believe that there's nothing that can be done. I believe in reform. I do. I believe that things can be changed.
In today's day and age, you got to be, have a belief in reform, because we have so many different laws on the books that, so you talk about, I was talking about before the break, integrity in my company. That's what kind of led me towards Central Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Association, is because I wanted to make sure that, we exuded, integrity, that, we could be a company that, you could trust. Hence why I got involved with the Better Bureau of Business, got an A+ rating with them still, 5 years in the business. And kind of segueing into all that, when I I was managing the accounting firm that my wife and I had owned, I got involved in the community with nonprofits. and I got involved with politics and everything. And that was because I saw how my experience has been that most people don't get involved in politics, or they don't stand up and they don't say nothing until it absolutely affects them. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that that's, the way it is, or that's a law. And so I saw the injustices in networking in Seminole County. I saw things that, they kind of didn't bode well with me, with like integrity. I'm like, look, so you're an elected official, but you're, doing nonprofit work for this nonprofit, and you're having money allocated to this nonprofit, and it just
No, I totally get it.
Some really stuff that
You can call it
just
shady.
doesn't look well,
Right.
And if you're looking to show that you have integrity and that you could be trusted in the community, I wouldn't associate myself with that kind of activity, just because of the way it looks.
No, I totally agree with that. And I mean, right now, what I'm seeing is completely changing the way that I feel about, just our governor. And I mean, I'll say that part because I think that what's happening right now, and the majority of stuff that DeSantis has done for the state of Florida, he's amazing.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to this stuff right here, House Bill 837 and Senate Bill 2A, I'm thoroughly disgusted. I'm thoroughly disgusted because the biggest contributors to his political
The insurance.
is the insurance companies, is big insurance. And it's under the vise that it's protecting small businesses from predatory companies. You want to know who the predators are? It's those big insurance companies. They're the ones that are screaming, oh, help us. We can't make ends meet because there's so many lawsuits against us. Yeah, well, guess what? The majority of them are just, if they go out of business, if they file bankruptcy, all that's happening is that they're selling the majority of those claims to a bigger business, and they get absorbed, and then they're still doing business in the state of Florida. It's all, like I said.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You can tell I get very passionate about it.
Yeah, she's heated.
And look, I do too. Hence why I got involved in politics, about 8 years ago. What I see is that with DeSantis working within that bill and signing last year's bill, the 2A bill, I believe, and I've talked to a couple other people in the industry as owners and general managers, I believe that it's really going to start affecting our citizens here in probably 2 or 3 years. Some people are seeing an adverse effect right now, but I think that that's going to continue to multiply.
Yeah, Floridians are in the dark.
They are. They don't know what has happened and what's taken place. They're not going to see it until I think that it's really going to start ramping up as year by year goes on until people are like, wait a minute, I can't believe that this is the case. How did this come to be?
Well, in regards to Senate Bill 2A, the biggest thing that will affect what's being brought to their attention is if we have another storm.
Right.
If we have another storm like Ian,
And when everything's already passed and stuff, if it does pass, then that's when they're going to start
the
knowing
Senate
about
bill's
it.
already passed.
Yeah.
And so, when it comes to hurricanes and severe damage, if you have any bill that's written beginning on December 16th of 2022, you are SOL.
Well, and I'll speak to for me, and being in the industry, most people don't realize that they have storm damage until 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years later.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I got a leak. And then with the
bill
law, it
limits,
is the way it is, that
What is it now? A year or 6 months?
No, I think it's like a year. And so, you look at a year from now when people from the hurricane that we had last year, when they start seeing interior damage, they're going to go to the roof and have a roofer come out and assess, and we're going to say, hey, look, you have storm damage. We can't pinpoint when, so then it's up to the insurance company, to do the right thing, which is why they're lobbying to not have to do the right thing.
Oh, it's so sad. I can't believe it, but like I said, we are literally less than a minute left. So, Dawn, I definitely want to have you on the show again because like I said, this is the kind of conversation that gets my blood going. But tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
MenzelRoofing.com. It's pretty easy. We have a great support staff now, a bunch of sales guys that are interested in getting out and taking a look and see how we can help you.
Okay, awesome.
All right, and I am Melissa Jacob. I have Striking Brand. It's strikingbrand.com and Striking Brand on all social media platforms.
And I am Angela, and you can find all the information on BaaD Radio at baadradio.com, and you can reach me at angela@baadradio.com. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful week. You didn't add your last little bit.
That's because we went too long.
Oh.
So I couldn't say anything, or I gotta, edit as it is. Hey,
Thank
you okay?
you.
You're welcome. Hang on. I just wanted to get rid of that. Okay.
No, I like this stuff gets my blood boiling, and I can't believe that DeSantis signed it last year.
Oh,
you know?
well, you know what I looked at? The lady that owns Mindful Media Group, we are looking at the time frame of how things went from development to House, Senate, signed by the governor. And so last year there was a portion of there was 2D, then there's 2A, whatever, 2A. One of them went through first. And it took, from the time that it got passed through Senate, it went to DeSantis' desk, and it sat there for a month and a half, right? But when 2A came along, this is the one, you know what I mean, that really was like the insurance company's wet dream. It was from House to Senate to DeSantis all within like a matter of not even a week and a half. That's how fast. It didn't even have time, I meant, for people to even really register what was happening. It like got written on a Friday at 5:00, literally signed. Yeah, it might have been like 2 weeks, but you know what I mean. Like
No, it was very quickly.
Yeah.
I know that in that time we had a meeting where we had I think it was Kagan and Serrano come in, and they were giving us an update on the bill, and they didn't anticipate it being signed that quickly, and then the next thing I know, the next week it's like DeSantis was signing it.
And I mean, it was designed that way. And then the whole thing about insurance companies not having, I mean, they were being told, you need to make your books public. And then they're like, the time came for them to have to make their books public, and they didn't do it. And then somebody says, oh, well, you can have another year. And you can have another year plus a few months. And if you look at like the timeline as far as like elections and everything like that, it fits perfectly.
All by
and well.
design. All by design. It's sick.